It's alive. Are we live? We are live. It's alive. Yes. Okay. So yeah, you're. First of all, welcome to Live Blather number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Um, and Stephanie said to me last time that I got a little too excited when I was seeing how many people were viewing live. So I vowed not to mention the number of live viewers, although we have more than 0 right now. I'm not going to say what. Anyway,
like
if we get to 19, I'll say something.
All right.
We got to get to 2 first, which gives you a clue to how many we actually have right now. So anyway, whoever is, and whoever was went away. So we're back to 0. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about numbers. There's a lot to unpack. It's been a very, very eventful week. And I guess I'm going to start out with the thing that the reason that I'm doing this podcast specifically. There was a tweet on Twitter about a week or 2 ago that I actually made the comment that I said, this tweet, in my humble opinion, is the most important tweet of this election season. I'd like to do a live blathercast and go over this tweet line by line. Our unity coalition is vulnerable without the votes of RFK supporters. If you'd like to be part of the live discussion, shoot me a DM. So that was my comment on the tweet that I'm about to read. I tied a world's record regarding the direct messages I got who want to talk about this tweet, which is 0. But you're here and I'm here. And without further ado, let's see if I remember. By the way, I want to start doing this every Tuesday night. I was absent for a long time and people were asking about it. And I think, as a fan of some other podcasts, I like to know when they're going to be on. So I'm going to try to commit to 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 Pacific on Tuesdays. And whatever time you can make, that's great. So let me see about that. Present, share screen, and of course, this is not in the order that I wanted it to be, but I think this is the one. And are you seeing it on the?
I am. I have a full view.
All right. So this is from an account called End Tribalism in Politics, which is one of the best. First of all, yes, we should end tribalism in politics. And this guy is really, really good. So I'm going to read this tweet a little bit at a time. And please feel free to jump in. Can I make it bigger on the screen so people could see it? Maybe. There we go. Is that bigger?
Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Okay.
You can read it. You can read it.
So it starts off with Trump's voice. They vote for me now. All the Bobby people are going to vote for me. Okay, I don't do a good Trump impersonation, but those are Trump's words. They vote for me now. All the Bobby people are going to vote for me. And now this guy and tribalism, these are his words. MAGA, please listen up. RFK supporters don't owe Trump their votes just because RFK has endorsed Trump. Many RFK supporters don't believe they can trust Trump and are on the fence. Okay, so fair enough, Joe. This whole issue of anybody, in my opinion, anybody being entitled to a vote. The one thing I said a lot after 2016 and after 2020 is don't ever say to me, "You've gotta," followed by the words "vote for."
Mm-hmm.
I don't got to do anything other than cast a ballot for who I think is the best choice. So there's that. So yeah. So we don't want a hypocrisy here. It's a great coalition. I'm thrilled that all these former Democrats, Trump and Elon Musk and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. Have all gotten together and formed this MAGA Bob ALOHA coalition. And I'll have a little more about MAGA Bobby ALOHA in a few minutes. But I think it's very incumbent to not act entitled. And I'm talking to the MAGA people here mostly because the Tulsi people are very, tend to believe in a big tent and engaging with people who don't necessarily agree with on other issues.
Right.
But I think, I said a few months ago that, and I'll quote myself maybe badly, that Bobby has political capital because he's got, somewhere between 5 and 15% of the vote polling, and Trump's a master deal maker, and Bobby's not going to win, which broke my heart to say because I've been all about third-party candidates for a long time, and but I basically said, Bobby, you got two choices. You have political capital right now. It has a very, very limited shelf life, and comes November 5th, you could have something or you could have nothing. Trump, you need to make a deal with Bobby. You need his support.
Yeah.
For the election. So I felt Trump needed to make whatever deal he had to make with Bobby, and Bobby needed to take advantage of the very, very widespread, very idealistic, and very enthusiastic support that he has. So it happened, and I thought it was game over, but it's not game over. It didn't move the needle as much as I anticipated, and this tweet is part of the reason why. So far, Joe, any comments on?
Well, I mean, I understand the comment. RFK supporters don't owe Trump their vote just because RFK endorsed him. I mean, RFK supporters, my dad was a diehard Democrat. And he said when the Kennedy was in office, he had 2 new cars in the garage, he had a house and everything like that. So I get it. The proof is in the pudding. What will Trump offer to them that, that is some sort of, I don't know, meal that they can they can chew on. And just because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says vote for him, I would need a little more than that if I was a diehard RFK Jr. guy. I mean, why should I vote for him even though you said vote for him? What's
right,
what's in the pudding?
Yeah. Oh, it's the most beautiful pudding ever. We have a perfect pudding. It's
beautiful, gorgeous pudding. Gorgeous.
And somehow
spectacular pudding.
it's a diverse pudding. It's economic. Yeah,
glorious pudding.
Somehow, call me crazy. That's not enough for RFK supporters. Worked really, really hard. I know a couple of them. They were passionate. Hey, I was one. I still am one. I like RFK Jr., but at a certain point, especially when there was talk about Tulsi perhaps being Trump's running mate, that I had to start considering Trump. And then they tried to kill him, and all the things, all these ridiculous court cases.
Two times. Well, not really the second time, but the first time, yeah.
Well, the second time too. I got to come up with an image here for a second. Hang on just a sec. I forgot to have this, but here's the guy. Is that showing on my screen? No, I got to change what I'm sharing, because I understand why this happened. This person has not done very well since he left his band.
Oh, he was in a band.
Yeah, he was in a pretty famous band. There he is, Roger Waters.
Oh,
I mean, he really does bear a striking resemblance to the guy.
Oh, it's uncanny.
Yeah. So this is what happens when your band breaks up, or when you leave your band. Anyway, I'm not getting into Pink Floyd politics, but yeah. So yeah, 2 assassination attempts. It's crazy, a completely disgusting debate, and we're going to get deeper into the debate, the so-called debate. It was more like a handicap match in professional wrestling.
Well, it was 4 against 3 against 1 is what it was.
It was absolutely 3 against 1. And I'm kind of, being a boomer, I get a little slow on the uptake sometimes. And as I watched it in real time, my take at the time was Trump's not doing a good job of presenting his case. It wasn't until I rewatched it that I realized what they were doing. They questioned him and badgered him repeatedly, and they let Kamala say whatever she wanted to say. It's
no fact checking on that end either. I mean, she said a lot of things that were not accurate.
And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that in this podcast, actually. But let's finish this tweet. Let me get it back on the screen. I'm getting a little better at this, not completely. I need an engineer, because if I was the engineer and somebody else was the host, I would fire the engineer, because I'm not very good at this.
You're good.
Well, anyway, I'm what I have right now. So he goes on to say, he or she goes on to say, actually, would all Trump supporters support Nikki Haley if Trump randomly endorsed her? This isn't a perfect analogy, but you get the point. Yeah, I get the point. You get the point, Joe?
I get the point. All right.
Yeah, of course. This whole you need to vote for Trump or else you help Kamala win BS is what makes RFK supporters hesitant to vote for Trump. They hate the tribalism. A little self-plug there. They hate the tribalism, and the them versus us mindset, and that is something that drives me crazy. Voter shaming. I went through it in 2016. Here's something. I'm going to read you something that I wrote. So I'm going to digress a little bit from the tribalism and read you something. This was written by me in 2016. Amidst a mildly heated argument with some friends regarding the election, I stopped taking part in the exchange and promised I would collect my thoughts and share them at a later time. It is now officially a later time. I'm going to try and choose my words carefully. Being from Brooklyn, there's always an inherent amount of unavoidable bluntness in play. Anyway, I've watched and listened and cringed repeatedly over the past several weeks as the so-called democratic process has unfolded. Now, I don't feel this way about Bernie Sanders anymore, but in 2016, here's what I said. A great and principled man. That's my 2016 self-talking. A great and principled man offered his services to us, and he was toyed with by the DNC the way a cat plays with its food. The DNC was willing to go along with the delusion of choice as long as the coronation went along as planned. And in spite of being caught playing dirty, the coronation did indeed occur. And of course, I'm talking about Hillary's coronation there. I've read posts by friends who vehemently stand by the lesser of two evils narrative. And I've put up with being browbeaten for my refusal to blindfold myself and follow Hillary off the cliff of dishonesty. The blindfold is a metaphor for the fear of a Trump presidency. And while I share the feel of Trump as much as anyone, again, this is my 2016 me talking, I have not lost sight of the fact that the lesser of two evils is still very much an evil. I'm told when I suggest considering a third party that a vote for a third party is a vote for Trump. I call bullshit on that. It kills me to do this, but I have to quote Ted Cruz, who I can't stand. Well, by the way, it's still 2016 me. When he said in front of a convention full of Republicans who just nominated Trump, vote your conscience. And yet Cruz got crucified for that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm told to remember the 2000 election. Well, I do remember the 2000 election. Do you? Were you outraged when you felt the election fraud cost Gore the presidency? Well, sorry, folks, if you were outraged by that and are not outraged by the antics of the DNC this year, you need to check yourself. If you've decided to abandon ship, I agree to disagree and respect your choice. But I'm horrified by those who trumpet, get over it, and spew harsh rhetoric at those of us who still think there might be a better way. Sorry, just because you surrendered your balls to the DNC doesn't mean I have to. The election is 3 months away. I hope people will stay informed, examine what's in front of them, and vote intelligently rather than fearfully. Would this not be a better place if we all did that? It's quite possible that this post and the exchange that's likely to follow will put a strain on some of my friendships. Okay, that was an understatement in 2016. It pretty much ended all of those friendships. My entire Bay Area community and I are just weddings and funerals, and that's about it. It's kind of sad. It's a very, very, I was a big part of that community for 10 years, all through the 80s, and my vote for Jill Stein was like a knife in their hearts. Sad to say. Anyway, we'll put a strain on my friendships. I'm willing to live with that, but it isn't really necessary. Basically, we all want the same things. Our differences are more strategic than philosophical. We want peace, economic stability, and lots of gluten-free chocolate cake for dessert. We just disagree on how to accomplish that. In the short run, it might appear to the naked eye that we accomplished that by falling in line with Debbie Wasserman Schultz's new employer. But if we choose to ignore what's right in front of us and condone the behavior of the DNC, it's a major blow to the dream of democracy, and we'll all suffer the consequences in the long run. And in present time, I dare say we're suffering those consequences right now. We are told we have to choose between an arrogant liar and a delusional maniac. I refuse to do that. I've lived my life trying to avoid making fear-based decisions, and I therefore plan to vote my conscience, not as a protest vote or a throwaway vote, but in the hopes that somebody gains some traction in the upcoming weeks and gives one of the better choices some viability. If there was every year a third-party candidate might get it done, 2016 is that year. So that's my 2 cents worth. And adjusted for inflation, that's probably my $15 worth. But that's what I said back then. So the point being, I was all about third-party candidates. And jump ahead to 2024, and Bobby didn't have a shot.
No.
He really didn't. It broke my heart to say that, and it broke my heart to say that, around his supporters, who were pretty good about it. And eventually we know what happened. But Bobby made a decision to endorse Trump. It was a really, really nice moment, seeing the two of them shaking hands. And so anyway, back to the end tribalism tweet. I'm very sensitive to the whole voter shaming thing, and as an independent, as a diehard independent, do not ever tell me who I have to vote for, because I'm likely to do the opposite. Maybe not out of spite, but out of the thought that you're so desperate telling me what I have to do that maybe there's something wrong with your thinking.
Right. A little too adamant.
Yeah. So back to end tribalism. This whole "you need to vote or else you'll help Kamala win" BS is what makes RFK supporters hesitant to vote for Trump. They hate the tribalism and the them versus us mindset. So, I just read you what I said about that 8 years ago. Now, a majority of MAGA has been great and all for unity and rational thought. As with any group, there's some bad actors which make it bad for everyone. It's critical that MAGA call these people out who've been attacking RFK supporters for being hesitant to vote for Trump recently. I'm going to pause there, because here, seriously, what in the world does a hardcore MAGA person hope to accomplish by trashing RFK's supporters for being hesitant? A vote is not given, a vote is earned. And I think Trump has earned people's votes, if not for any other reason than the Harris Waltz ticket is just the opposite of what this country needs. That's just my personal opinion, though, and people disagree. They disagree. Hey, if somebody wants to come on this show sometime, who thinks that the debate was fair and that Kamala would actually make a great president, I will give them the microphone and let them talk. But and I've offered that before, and so far I've set that world. I've tied that world's record as well for the number of people who've come forward with that. It's still 0. So anyway, that's the gist of the tweet. And he says this isn't a post to attack MAGA. This entire account was created for political unity, and it goes on and on. Long story short, if Trump wants to win this election, he needs the RFK voters in swing states. Yeah, he damn sure does. These are not votes that will just be handed to Trump. And if he thinks he's gonna send a lot of voters to Harris, unity isn't your guy endorsed me, so now you vote for me. Unity is, I realize we've had our differences in the past, but I've grown and I promise to represent you to the best of my abilities. I would take it a step further. And let me close that for now. Get our pretty faces back on the screen. Are we there? There we are. Hey, Joey. I would take it a step further. It's not just embrace our similarities, the main one of which is defeating this whole DNC thing, but embrace our differences, and there's some pretty big ones, especially surrounding abortion, environment, et cetera, et cetera. These are 3 very, very diverse walks of life. I mean, sure, the ALOHA crowd and the RFK crowd are, they're fairly intersecting in one of Kamala's Venn diagrams.
Mhm.
But the MAGA people are very, very different. I experienced them in New Hampshire when I was out there uh, for the New Hampshire primary back in 2020. There was a very big Tulsi rally, but earlier than that, there was a huge Trump rally walking distance away. And that rally let out when the Tulsi rally was still going. A couple of people wearing their red MAGA hats showed up outside the rally, and they very politely asked if they can go inside because they wanted to, see what Tulsi was all about. I had already been to a dozen Tulsi rallies, so not that she said the same thing every time, but I knew the message. So I happened to be standing outside talking to some of the supporters when this happened. They wanted to go inside and hear Tulsi. And then they said, should we take off our hats before we go in? They're MAGA hats. And I said, no,
That's
keep your
polite.
hat on. This is the ALOHA campaign. ALOHA means we embrace everybody. And they went in there wearing their MAGA hats. They heard what Tulsi had to say. They came out, they shook my hand, and they thanked me, and they thanked me for suggesting that they be themselves. That's my very limited experience with MAGA. And of course, in real life, I know some people who are, but for the most part, yes, most of the MAGA people I know in real life are pretty far to the right for my taste. However, going against my 2016 self, because right now there is no third party candidate. I mean, I don't think Stein and Cornel West are combining for 1% of the vote. And I don't know that I support either of them anymore anyway. So I'm all, and this coalition of MAHA and MAGA and ALOHA, it's pretty strong. And I think that if the election is fair, it's going to win a pretty serious, maybe not a landslide, but it's going to win pretty handily.
Well, isn't that the definition of unity? These different groups coming together and moving in one direction. I mean, to me, that's the quintessential definition of unity. You got the RFKers, you got the ALOHAers, you got the MAGAs. They're all joining forces. And shouldn't that say something to the people that, there's these people from different aspects of politics coming together for a common cause, that, they want to see the country survive. They want to see us break out of this current state that we're in, where, crime's running rampant. There's cats being eaten and stuff like that. And,
allegedly.
Well, on a grill, maybe a little seasoning salt, but I think it's a great story. And I think that's, look at me. I'm fully on board, and, my background is different from a lot of people's background. And, I stand strong that I'm going to vote for Donald Trump in 2024.
Yeah, and as do I. And in most of my real life circles, saying that turns me into an instant leper.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And I'm tired of being a leper, and I'm tired of being politically closeted. I'm in a room full of people, and they're all assuming I agree with them, and I don't. So I end up with
welcome to my life growing up being closeted. I mean, it's not a fun way to live.
Yeah, and I don't mean to
when you're not being yourself.
I mean, the being politically closeted and being sexually closeted are two completely, one is my views and one is your life.
Right.
I'm in the same category. However, it gives me a bit of an understanding of what it's like to not be able to admit to people who you are. Maybe admit's the wrong word, or just be who you are among people. I walk into rooms and I'll the conversation.
Yeah.
It's weird. A good friend of mine, Ellen, has commented. Let's see what she says. Each side think that if the other side wins, it's the end of the world. So the stakes are kind of high to listen to each other logically, in my opinion. And that's true. They both sides do say that. They're both threats to democracy. They're both threats to our way of life. And I've made a choice. To me, back to the coalition, though, the analogy I'd like to use is you have 3 surgeons in the operating room with a person getting emergency surgery. And all 3 of these have different opinions on the aftercare for the surgery. What's important at that moment is not the aftercare. The important at that moment is your scalpel, your anesthetic, and do the procedure successfully. Don't let the patient die on the table.
Well, yeah.
Have a successful operation, and then you can go argue about the aftercare. So to me, MAGA and Bobby and ALOHA can have all the differences they want regarding abortion and social issues and climate change and all this and all that. In my opinion, none of that matters if Harris is elected. And I guess I'm guilty of Ellen Applebaum's contention that it's the end of the world if the other side wins, because I've come to believe that. I did write a little song about the coalition. Well, no, it's very much a work in progress, but I started writing a song. You want to hear a little rough couple of lyrics here? So this is to the tune of Run Around Sue.
Yeah.
Election season got off to a crazy start. They fixed it all for Joe, and then they stabbed him in the heart. Now listen, people, listen really careful, because I'm telling you, MAGA Bob ALOHA going to pull us through. We should have seen it coming, but it caught us by surprise. They installed their favorite puppet right before our eyes. But do not despair, because we know what to do. MAGA Bob ALOHA going to pull us through. Oh, MAGA Bob ALOHA, MAG, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, that's the beginning of what I hope turns into a song before this is all over. So I that little self-promotion there.
It has good promise. Very good promise.
Thank you. Anybody has suggestions on lyrics or words, or there actually was one more line that I didn't scroll to. Here we go. If you've been paying attention to some of the things Kamala's been saying. Venn diagrams make us feel so fine, like a yellow school bus and the passage of time. Lie about your service, some say that's a sin, unless you are unburdened by what has been. So that's another.
I like it.
Unburdened by what has been. I'm not sure how many times you've heard her say that. So anyway, before I go on to an adjacent topic, do you have any final thoughts on the tweet and and a message for maybe some MAGA people for embracing RFK supporters, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, the one good thing about Trump is he lets you know his opinion on subjects. Kamala, I have no idea where she what do they call it, a word salad? She gives word salads, and it's just a bunch of words thrown together, and she really doesn't answer any questions or anything like that. I want to know what the candidate stands for. You know damn well what Trump stands for. He'll tell you right there to your face if you like it or not. Kamala, I don't know what she stands for. But we dance and, we're together and we're happy. Let's just all be joyful. Everything will work out. No, it won't.
I'm smiling because you brought up word salad and because you didn't know what I had prepared for this show.
I didn't.
Last minute. So
we try not to talk before the podcast just so it's organic,
So speaking of word salad, I have some fresh word salad from Kamala. Oh, and Ellen says she happens to think so too. I'm glad we agree. But again, I embrace disagreements as well. So here's some Kamala's. So Kamala did an interview in Philadelphia on a local ABC station. This was after the debate, and she was asked a question about the economy. And she gave pretty much the same exact answer that she gave at the debate, which I believe is a word salad. But I am ready I have prepared the inspiration for word salad, because the Kamala's word salad is minor league. I'm going to show you some major league word salad, which is probably where Kamala learned how to put the dressing on the word salad. So first, let's start with Kamala's word salad. So let me share my screen again and see if it comes up like it. Oh, I'm getting better at this. Sort of. Is this
practice makes perfect, Mike?
Yeah. Okay. So, like I've said, we're fourth generation regurgitation, and I am going to regurgitate some of Dave Rubin here, who, by the way, has quickly become my favorite podcaster. We'll get into a little more of Dave at another time, but here we go. Here's Dave.
The Rubin report.
The second sit down. Let's not forget, she did her first It was a 41-minute interview with Dana Bash, and somehow they were only able to release 18 minutes of it. Well, she sat down with an ABC reporter over the weekend, and he asked a very simple question. Like, this is so simple, it's ridiculous. That's how they
When you
talk.
talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager. I grew up in a community of hardworking people, you know, construction workers and nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, you know, but a lot of people will relate to this. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn, you know, and I was raised to believe and to know that all people deserve dignity, and that we as Americans have a beautiful character. You know, we have ambitions and aspirations and dreams, but not everyone necessarily has access to the resources that can help them fuel those dreams and ambitions. So when I talk about building an opportunity economy, it is very much with the mind of investing in the ambitions and aspirations and the incredible work ethic of the American people, and creating opportunity for people, for example, to start a small business.
What the flying fuck did that crazy woman just say? I honestly have no idea what she's talking about. How do you create conditions, better economic conditions? What is she talking about?
Okay, so
I don't think he knows.
you gotta love Dave. So I think I found the video that was Kamala Harris's inspiration for how she handled that interview. Are you ready for this, Joey Meatballs and anybody else listening?
Hit us. Stock it to us.
This is an amazing bit of inspiration, and here we go.
I mean, there's a right answer here, but that's not it.
Oh, no. I went to the end. Oops. Sorry about that.
Oh, well, that's
just a few seconds. So he asks her a very simple question, and
where enough is enough.
Oops. I'm exposing myself as a boomer here.
I want you to think about the answer before you give it.
Okay, I guess I gotta go to the beginning. Here we go.
Question. And it's an important one, so I want you to think about the answer before you give it to me, okay?
okay.
When two people love each other, really love each other, but they just can't get it together, when do you get to that point where enough is enough?
Oh, well, that's, it's over when, okay, I have like these psychosomatic, insomniatic manifestations of, well, here's the thing about me. I'm a product of my emotions versus being a product of my environment, like him, which he is exactly just that environmental. I need sunshine to grow. That's who I am. And with the projection of I have goals.
She nailed it.
Answer?
Yeah.
So, do you
Very
see
similar, Mike.
I mean, seriously similar. Seriously similar. During the debate, I'm going to move on to one more thing. Now, I don't know where these guys are. Again, I'm not going to express an opinion on the truth or veracity thereof about Kamala. Hello, V.S. Adams. Hey, welcome back. That's one of my original viewers, V.S. Adams. Okay, yay. I'm not going to go into Vicky, as I recall, is your name. I'm not going to go into the truth of what she said, but I would like to show the reaction of some people to what she said. So once again, I'm going to share my screen. I guess don't need to say I'm going to share my screen, just do it. But we're back to the Dave Rubin show, and here we go.
As Kamala Harris lied.
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world the first time this century. What? But let's understand.
So where the are we right now?
I mean, does that say it right there?
So I'm not sure where those guys are, who they are, but wow. I don't know that we're in any active combat zones, but those guys sure as hell think they are.
Well,
So,
they look like they were. I mean, you know, they're in a tent wearing
they're
camis.
in a tent, they're in uniform, and they.
I don't think they're in anyone's backyard. You know?
They sure took exception to the implication that they're not anywhere anymore.
Well, it's kind of a slap in the face, but you know.
What else do I have here? So then we get to the debate. And the day before the debate, I replied to a tweet on Twitter. The debate was September 10th, and so somebody, Mila Joy, said, has ABC News already given Kamala Harris the debate questions? In other words, has ABC News cheated for Kamala? And my answer was, ABC is owned by Disney and the home of The View. What could possibly go wrong? Well, my tweet the next day. I need an engineer. Is that it? My tweet the next day is, I guess we found out. What could possibly
Yeah.
Now there's all kinds of rumors going around out there about a whistleblower, and I'm not going to present this as fact, other than the fact that it's very viral. But apparently a whistleblower has come forward and has talked about a lot of things. Person has sworn this under oath, so guilty of under penalty of perjury. Person can be charged if this is a lie. Talks about I've secretly recorded several conversations that will prove the Harris campaign insisted upon not only the fact-checking of Donald Trump, but also insisted on what questions were not to be asked under any circumstances, or else the Harris campaign would decline to participate in the debate. And it goes on and on to basically say that she was given a bunch of sample questions, which just happened to be congruent in that Venn diagram with the actual debate questions. Watching the debate, clearly it was 3 against 1. One person made a comment. What was that guy's name? David Muir. Somebody said,
Yeah,
Trump did a great job of debating David Muir, and Kamala did a good job of looking good on the sidelines. He kept on interrupting him. He kept on fact checking him. The problem is his fact checks were wrong.
yeah, he was wrong.
And he let Kamala get away. And I don't care how her name's pronounced. I got to look it up. I think she was Kamala back in 2016. Kamala. I don't care. You know, people say it's racist to call her Kamala. And there was a wrestler in the 80s named Kamala, and he didn't want to be called Kamala. So, whatever her name is, I'm going to keep calling her Kamala because that's what I've been calling her ever since I first heard her name.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all. So back to Dave Rubin. He did a. This is highlights of some of the debate moments that would lead one to possibly think the debate was not handled fairly. See, I'm doing this without talking about it, except that I just talked about it.
Yeah, you're talking about it.
Is that it? That's it. At least I'm getting good at finding these.
No, you're good.
So this is a Dave Rubin video, and
He will sign a national abortion ban.
It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban.
Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor.
What she says is an absolute lie.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion.
The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mothers.
Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy. We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Let's remember Charlottesville. There were fine people on each side.
Very fine people on both sides. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. Let us finally pass an assault weapons ban and universal background checks and red flag laws.
That last one, God, I got a Hillary flashback. I know I don't remember anything noteworthy.
PTSD, Mike.
I remember Hillary making a speech one time saying, "We don't need more hatred, we need more love," and that's what
coming from her. Yeah,
yeah, in that tone.
By the way, I hate Hillary's speech voice. She talks like this. I mean, it's just it grates on my nerves.
It is cringe beyond.
He's cringe.
So Vicky's making stir fry. I hope it's good. Ellen
Mike,
wants to get a gun.
Mike, stop mentioning people. Move, come on.
Oh, no. I'm not giving the count. There's a number up there.
But
oh yeah. But yeah. Okay. So yeah. Thank you. I need to.
Let's go.
That's me. I'm Mr. Digression. I still have a couple of things to share. Oh yeah. I don't want to get too deep into what happened today in Lebanon.
A lot of speculation. Yeah.
A lot of speculation, and people are wondering who did it. All the exploding pagers, and I'm not gonna, every one of my podcasts ends up in Gaza or Lebanon. I'm not gonna go there, but I do think that I had the answer on Twitter today when people were saying who is to blame for this, and here was my answer.
Well, the pager was invented by a Jew in Canada, in Toronto.
There you go. What's funny is I'll put up a serious tweet and I'll get maybe 1 or 2 likes. Like you and the Saturn V are the two I can kind of count on for likes usually. My Blame Canada got like 45 likes. So it goes to show you the mentality of Twitter.
Absolutely. That's funny.
This is what.
Yeah, that was. And I'm reading now. It's a speculation that the supply chain, they went from cell phones to pagers because there was a breach in some sort of security, and the pagers, apparently the pager shipment was intercepted. The supply chain was intercepted, and that's when I read. That's when they were altered in a way, putting in this whatever they put in there to have them, and they all went off at once, right? Like it happened. I don't know. That's the thing.
I don't want to dive too deep into this, but other than to say it's amazing. Amazing is not even the word for what happened.
It's James Bond. What it is.
It's James Bond on James Bond.
Mission Impossible. Oh, dude, no kidding.
So I I don't want to quite celebrate it because maybe a few innocent people got hurt, but I'm certainly not going to condemn it. And I'm just going to straddle the fence on this one for now, although I do have to say FAFO.
Well, amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. And maybe the hope, if any good thing good comes of it, it's that maybe people will realize this is a very, there's a reason Israel's never lost a war. And maybe people need to hesitate a little more before kicking the beehive there. But anyway, I don't want to go into that rabbit hole because every one of these podcasts end up there. However, I am going to go a little bit into the rabbit hole because I do have just got a little bit, because here's what happened. And this kind of reminds me of October 7th in a way. October 7th happens, and then on October 8th, people start blaming Israel for what happened. All around the world, there's not people condemning Hamas. There's people burning Israeli flags and flying Palestinian flags, whatever Palestine actually is. I don't know. Anyway, after Trump gets shot a second time, our media starts blaming Trump. It's like, he didn't get shot a second time. They tried to kill him a second time. To me, when somebody tries to kill you, that makes you the victim, not the perpetrator. So the media gets all over this. So Jimmy Dore made a post, and
oh boy,
he did. And well, let me. I'm not going to talk about getting it up on the screen. I'm just going to get it up on the screen, and I want to talk about this post by Jimmy Dore. So there's Roger Waters right there. Okay. So Jimmy Dore says, "Are you seeing it?"
I can see it. We can see it. We're good.
This is Donald Trump assassination attempt. Ryan Wesley. Oh my God! You ever see Life of Brian? Like when he goes, "Release Brian, release Wadwick." Can you imagine what it would be like for Pilate in Life of Brian to say, "Release Ryan Wesley Ruth"? So Ryan Wesley Ruth. And notice this about that. Do you realize, Joe, the only people who
3 names:
newborn babies and assassins?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you get it with newborn babies, you get it with assassins.
What assassins?
Well, Lee Harvey Oswald, John Wilkes Booth. You always get the middle name when you talk about assassins, and you get the middle name.
Mark David Chapman. Mark David Chapman.
Very good. Yeah, the list goes on.
John Hinckley.
So Jimmy goes on to say, he's a zealot for Ukraine war because he's been fully propagandized by corporate media to support the war. He has zero idea what the war is actually about. His mind is very childlike. It's a battle of good versus evil, just like the corporate news told him. That's how propaganda works. That's why I warned TYT about pushing Russiagate. It would lead to a war and brainwash guys like this. He has no idea what the war is actually about. So when Trump and RFK say they want to end the war, he thinks the moral thing to do is assassinate Trump. This is direct result of corporate news and independent news repeating pro-war CIA talking points uncritically. Nobody in corporate news will ask, where was he radicalized? Because if you watch the video, it's clear he was radicalized by corporate news right here in the US. Okay, so I agree with that tweet almost word for word. I do think that that our headline, our mainstream news is doing us a horrible disservice. They're just pure propaganda DNC networks. It's a lyric in several of my songs, not to keep pushing those. But I agree with Jimmy. Now let's look at his tweet again through a different lens and think about what, because here's something. Let me present something different here. Here's Jimmy Dore on a different topic.
This is Mary Golan. She is Israel's Minister for Social Equity and a Minister for Women's Empowerment. No kidding. She was elected to the Knesset for Likud party in 2022. So that's who she is. And she says, I'm personally proud of the Holocaust of Gaza. We want to hear, and that 80 years from now, they will tell their grandchildren what the Jews did.
So now let's look at Jimmy's post again, because Jimmy, in my opinion, and I've followed Jimmy for 7 years. I've been to his live shows where we have mutual friends, or had mutual friends before October 7th. But if you look at Jimmy's post through the lens of what he says about Israel, he's accusing MSM, he's rightly accusing MSM, mainstream media, of doing exactly what he does when it comes to Israel. And yeah, this is how propaganda works, et cetera, et cetera. So I called him out in a private group on Twitter and ended up having to leave the group because somebody took exception to my criticizing Jimmy Dore, which apparently is off limits for mere mortals like myself. Let's see, I got a couple of comments from Ellen. Let me just read them. Babylon B's headline: Democrats accuse Trump of inciting further violence by not dying. Yeah, that pretty much sums that up. And she also said, oh, she's talking about what I just showed with Jimmy. She said it in Hebrew. I have no idea what she really said. I tend to doubt that an Israeli member of Knesset would call the action in Gaza a Holocaust. And Ellen definitely knows more about Gaza than you or me, so I will take that as they say, as the MS, the truth. That's all I have prepared. And oh my God, well, no, not quite. We've been on for almost an hour. We tend to do about an hour in these things. That's all I have prepared. The main thing I wanted to do with this podcast, my main goal was basically where I started out. I want to put out a very big welcome red carpet for RFK supporters. Let's agree, let's not just agree to disagree. Let's embrace our disagreements. Let's discuss our disagreements, but let's demonstrate to everybody else and to each other how we handle a conversation. A conversation, even though it's the same number of syllables and starts and ends the same way, conversation and confrontation, I just made that up. Conversation and confrontation are two very, very different concepts. And if there's one thing wrong with the political landscape right now, I dare say it's too much confrontation and not enough conversation. And it's sad. I mean, my own experience, somebody will bring something up that I vehemently disagree with. I'll say why I disagree, and the conversation gets shut down. I don't want to talk politics. Well, then why'd you bring it up? So this happens in the aspects of my real life. But again, there's a lot of people that I really care about that will absolutely never even consider voting for Trump. That's how it is. And I know after rewatching Live Blather number 8, the one we did the night of the, I guess it was the night of the convention. I watched it through the lens of somebody who might not be a Trump voter, and I realized I was not doing my job. I was snarky and a wise guy, which is what I am, and it's in my blood, it's in my kishkas. But I need to overcome that. I need to overcome that and be logical and reasonable, because I'm not going to win people over by being snarky. I'm going to win people over with valid and rational, logical explanations and as much truth as I can get out there. So by the way, I labeled the lesson with Live Blather number 8, but I guess number 7 never happened. I went right from 6 to 8. So Live Blather number 7 either didn't happen or it's lost forever. But this one is Live Blather number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9. So we have to live up to that. And I wonder what would happen, Joe, if somebody plays this backwards. Would we finally find out for real whether or not Paul is dead? Didn't consider that till this very moment.
Wow, that's blowing my mind, Mike.
Thank you, Joe. Clearly, I'm deteriorating right before your eyes.
No.
But no, that there's so much more going on. There's so much to talk about just with the debate alone, which is why I want to start going weekly again. I didn't feel, since I really do plan on doing this every Tuesday, I didn't feel the need to pack everything into one podcast, and so I'm not. And that was actually suggested to me in an email today from a dear old friend. So there it is. We didn't talk too much about Springfield.
Well, that's next week. Maybe we'll have more data next week on it about
Yeah, well,
maybe some recipes.
You live within driving distance of Springfield.
3 hours away.
3 hours away, which is obviously for my own personal reasons, I do not want, especially because we have a couple of dogs in the house and a cat. We don't want Springfield spilling over into Akron for a million reasons.
Sweet Jesus.
But as I said to you on the phone earlier today, when we talked about doing a podcast tonight, I believe, some laws are valid, some laws aren't, but one law that's always valid is the law of entropy. And when you pack too much matter into a space, the law of entropy dictates that matter is going to spread out into a more sparse area.
Mm-hmm.
So if Springfield was the next town over from Akron, I'd have some major concerns. And I'm sorry that if that makes me a racist, I'll live with it. But this is not race. This is you drop 20,000 people into a town of 40 or 60,000. It's going to overwhelm the town. I mean, look at Martha's Vineyard. 50 people overwhelmed Martha's. They couldn't handle it. They freaked out. They're like, "Oh, get these people!" Wow. We're going to lose everything.
What's going to happen to my property values?
Yes. So if Martha's Vineyard couldn't handle 50 people, how is Springfield, Ohio, supposed to handle 20,000? And I have compassion for the immigrants. I even have compassion for if this is what their culture is and they've come here. But if they're eating other people's pets, that's horrible. But it's people are calling it a conspiracy theory. Dana Bash went crazy on J.D. Vance when he was on her show the other day, and he countered. J.D. Vance is a badass.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Talking about using logic and data to take down your adversary. My gosh, he is fantastic.
I don't have the clip, but he laid into her.
Next week we'll watch it.
Next week I want to go over that. Basically she's like, this is unsubstantiated. He goes, yeah, well, I'm going by what the people in the town are saying. He's not presenting his fact. He's presenting his hearsay, but it's credible hearsay from people who were right there on the scene. So who knows? But the bottom line is Dana Bash repeatedly exposes the bias of the mainstream media. David Muir exposed it with a telescope at the debate. And these are the times we live in, and we have a lot of people who are only hearing one side of the story. And back to my point, I want to get through to people. I want to, again, I lived in Berkeley for the 80s. I almost lost you there. I was with Wavy Gravy on the 1984 Nobody President campaign. I lived in a hippie commune in Berkeley in the 80s. I've seen the Grateful Dead 78 times, half of them as crew. I've shaken Ram Dass's hand on a beach in Hawaii. I have my hippie credentials. I am not some kind of right-wing MAGA maniac. I've listened to, I've watched what's been happening to the Democrats since 2016 is when I first noticed it. It might go back before that. And I've made a decision that that the Democrats have not earned my vote. They're not about democracy. They're about power. A quick Tulsi plug, because people say, how can you trust Tulsi? I only need to know one fact about Tulsi, and it's the original one. Tulsi Gabbard was the vice chair of the DNC in 2016. She was a rising star in the Democrat Party. She very well could have been the nominee this year had she stayed on that path. But when she saw the antics that the DNC was doing, rigging the primary in 2016 against Bernie, she stepped down as the vice chair. So as I made a post about her back in 2019 on Facebook. I said there are politicians and there are leaders, and Tulsi's a leader. And somebody called me out on that. Goes, what do you mean? What's a leader? And my answer was, a politician will sacrifice their principles for power. A leader will sacrifice their power for principles. Tulsi Gabbard's a leader. She could have, I guarantee she would have gotten the nomination way before Harris, if she would have played the game, but she didn't play the game. And yes, her position has shifted on certain things. And yes, she goes on Fox News, but she goes on Fox News. She'll go on Joe Rogan. She'll talk to anybody, agree or not agree. So, I get a little bit weary of the Tulsi bashing, and I feel the need every so often to speak up for her. But the one thing that will never change in my eye, people can argue that Standing Rock was a photo opportunity. I don't think so. She goes there in 4-degree weather and puts herself in between the water cannons and the water protectors. That's not a photo op. That's dedication to a cause. So, now that she's supporting Trump, a lot of people don't trust her, but she's the same person she's always been. She's looking at the landscape of what's going on, and she's made some choices, as have I, as have you, as has Elon Musk, and as especially has Robert F. Kennedy Jr.,
Yep.
who is our next attorney general or some equivalent thereof. There. Oh yeah, that's
Feel better? You feel better?
Guys. These are a big rock and roll band in Berkeley. My hippie card is punched, and I resent being labeled a right winger. But I'd rather be labeled a right winger than compromise my principles. And I just believe in free speech, freedom, economic stability. The same things I read about that I said in 2016. It's a long journey to get from Democrat supporter, which is what I was for decades, to understanding that these are not the people who had our support. And it was the party of JFK. I even dare say Jimmy Carter. I'll even throw Bill Clinton into that group to a certain degree. And what I thought Obama was. But this is not that. This is not. Are you on a boat, by the way, Joe?
Dude, I don't know what's going on. Something is
rocking and rolling.
It's an iPad. And I'm like checking if my fingers, if they move. I put my hands on my lap, and I think this will do it. I'm sorry. No, I'm not on. It's moving.
Yeah, well, your hands are on your lap. I'm not going to go there. So anyway,
don't look at me, Mike. Don't look at me.
Anyway, I wouldn't dream it. I think, as always happens, we end up just really kind of going blah, blah,
goes
blah.
In the gutter.
I wish I knew how to edit, because this would not make the final cut, the last 10 minutes of this. But here we are. And now that we're almost done, I will say we have 8 people watching.
Woohoo!
Which is, eight's a good number. It's not 18.
Good.
We had 18 last time. We have 8 this time, but it's more than none. And if I can get through to one person, that's one person that I would have gotten through to otherwise. So I want to keep making the effort. Plus, I enjoy doing this.
Well, Mike, I think now that we have a schedule set up, I think more people are going to join because they're going to know when you're on. So I think this is a good thing, us doing every Tuesday at 9 p.m.
9 p.m. Brooklyn time. 6 p.m. Woke Hollywood time.
9 p.m. Crackrin time.
Every Tuesday.
It'll be good.
And I'm not sure if you celebrate this in Ohio, but here in California, it's Taco Tuesday. So,
we do have Taco Tuesday here.
Taco Tuesday. So I come on the air well nourished because I don't observe too many things in life, but I observe Taco Tuesday.
No, you definitely have the food thing every day. There's like a food that you eat. So, that's very well structured on your behalf. A little autistic, but well structured.
Just because I call tomorrow Wendy's Wednesday and Thursday is Pizza Thursday and Friday's Pollo Loco Friday, I don't know what you're talking about, Joe.
Googly moogly, Mike. Googly moogly.
All right, so I'll say the words if you're ready.
Let's do it.
The boomer has blathered. Peace, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.